Hello everyone, and welcome to a new video where we dive once again into the fantastic world of dinosaurs. We'll do this to learn about many different species. Let's open the box to start seeing them. Let's see. And look, we have the box full of dinosaurs. Also, I love the figures because they're the soft kind that we can squish and stretch. Let's take them all out to learn their names and their characteristics. Let's see which one comes out first, and it looks like we have a big herbivorous dinosaur. This time, it's called Kentrosaurus. As you can see, it is characterized by having large bony plates on the top of its body and a tail full of big spikes. It looks a lot like the great Stegosaurus, since it's from the same family, but they're actually different species. The main difference is that the Stegosaurus had 4 spikes at the tip of its tail, while the Kentrosaurus had a tail full of spikes. To be able to defend itself from all those who tried to eat it, the bony plates also served as a method of defense. If a predator came to sink its teeth in, these bony plates would prevent it, making it easier to escape. In addition, the Kentrosaurus had a large spike on each of its sides. Its head is very small compared to the rest of its body, and it has 4 large legs, with the hind legs being stronger and more robust. It inhabited planet Earth during the Cretaceous period, more than 55 million years ago. Let's continue with the next one. And we have another herbivorous dinosaur. This time it's one of my favorite herbivores. It's the great Parasaurolophus, known for the horn it had on the back of its head. This horn was able to produce sounds, and it used these sounds to communicate with the rest of the herd, especially when they felt threatened. For example, if a Tyrannosaurus rex came to attack, they would start making sounds very similar to those of a trombone, and in this way, everyone could escape in time. In addition, it had a rather robust body. It's from the duck-billed family. Those are the ones that have a mouth shape, like we see in Parasaurolophus. In addition, this specimen was able to walk both on all 4s and on 2 legs, putting all its weight on the back part, also using it as a counterweight. It lived in the Cretaceous period, more than 65 million years ago. And we continue with another one. And it seems that this time we don't have a dinosaur. It's a prehistoric animal called Smilodon, also commonly known as the Saber-Toothed Cat. Didn't I tell you? But the figures are incredible. We can experiment with different textures since the inside is filled with cork balls, and we can also stretch it. As you can see, it had an impressive jaw with these gigantic fangs, the saber-tooth or Smilodon. It lived in very icy areas where it was extremely cold, so its skin was very thick and its fur was very dense. That way it could protect itself from the low temperatures. This animal has already disappeared, meaning it is an extinct animal. Let's continue with another one, a different one. Let's see. And it's a large carnivore called Dilophosaurus. This dinosaur was one of the first large carnivores that ever existed. It lived on planet Earth during the Jurassic period, about 200 million years ago. As you can see, it had crests on the top of its head, which, according to the latest research, were different in size and shape. Depending on whether they were male or female, they could reach about 9 meters in length when fully grown, and they measure approximately 2 meters tall. As you can see, it was bipedal, a type of theropod that walked on its hind legs, although its front legs were also quite long, with 3 strong claws that it used to grab meat or its prey and bring it to its mouth. And another one over here. I also like these figures because, as you can see, they stand upright. And let's continue with another different one. We have a dinosaur with a crown-shaped skull, which means it's from the family of the great Triceratops. This time, we see some differences compared to the Triceratops, since the Triceratops had 3 strong horns. However, here we have the great Styracosaurus, which only had a small horn on the top of its nose. Also, we can see all of this acted as a defense. It also had a lot of huge spikes all over the outside of its skull. Was a quadruped and was smaller in size than the Triceratops. Here's another one over. Let's continue with the next one. This is another type of armored dinosaur. It's called Ankylosaurus. As you can see, its whole body was like one big suit of armor. Its skin was very large, very thick, and it was also covered with all these big spikes, so it was almost unbreakable. It also had a big ball or club at the tip of its tail, which it swung from side to side to defend itself from predators. The Ankylosaurus was also called the armadillo of the Cretaceous, since the shape of its body is very similar to that of armadillos. And also, it lived on planet Earth during the Cretaceous period, more than 65 million years ago. And also, the part of its head was also armored, with several spikes on the sides. Can't see it in the figure. But it also had a strong beak that it used to dig in the ground in search of food. Shall we stop here? We're creating a real Jurassic World. And now we're moving on to a super predator. We have an impressive carnivore here. As you can see, these 2 horns on its head already reveal what kind of dinosaur it is. It's the great Carnotaurus. The Carnotaurus gets its name from the horns on its head, since they look a lot like a bull's horns. Also, it was very large. A giant among giants. It was bipedal and walked on its hind legs. Also, its head was gigantic, which is why the sides of its skull were flattened. This was a way to lighten the weight of its head. Also, in these very large dinosaur specimens, they had another method to lighten their weight. Some of their bones were hollow. This way, they could move more easily. Even so, they were very heavy dinosaurs, so they couldn't run much. We'll leave it here. And let's see which one is next. And we still have many left inside the box. Now we have a kind of flying reptile. Oops. Although the figure is a bit bent around its neck. But let's look at the main features. We can see that it was a type of flying reptile with a very slim and thin body, which allowed it to fly at great speed. It's called Pteranodon. We know it's this type of dinosaur because of its distinctive beak and also the horn it had on the back of its head. An interesting fact is that it had a large pouch underneath, very similar to that of pelicans, to store food. The Pteranodon mainly fed on fish. Therefore, it always used to fly over seas and oceans. And with its strong claws, it held tightly onto rocks to spot food. It had a long wingspan of more than 2 meters, and according to experts, its body was very similar to that of modern bats, but obviously of a gigantic size. It also lived on planet Earth during the Cretaceous period, at the same time as some dinosaurs. Let's look at the next one. I really like this dinosaur. As you can see, it's feathered. Its whole body is covered in feathers. Can you guess what kind of dinosaur it is? Many of you might not know this, but it's a Velociraptor. Yes, friends, Velociraptors had feathers. According to the latest findings, we're used to seeing Velociraptors depicted with scaly skin. But according to recent reports, it seems that it was a dinosaur that had feathers all over its body, especially on the back of its forelegs and on its tail, where the feathers were longer and fuller. As you know, Velociraptor was a carnivore much smaller than other large carnivores like T-Rex. It could reach about 2 meters in length, and it also had a very slim body, which allowed it to run at high speed. Its front legs were quite long. and had 3 strong fingers, and it had claws on its hind legs. We also see a large spike that was characteristic of velociraptors. They also used it to immobilize their prey and, above all, to grab the meat and bring it to their mouths. The teeth weren't very long, but they were very sharp, which allowed them to sink their teeth deep into their prey. Another one over here. And this time we have the most famous dinosaur of all, one of the greatest predators that has ever existed on planet Earth. With its 14 meters in length, we present the Great T-Rex. As you can see, its front legs were very small compared to the rest of its body. Actually, it could run at a speed of about 60 kilometers per hour, but obviously only for a very short period of time, since its body was very heavy. That's why, in order to hunt, the best thing was to hide among the bushes or in the vegetation and wait for some prey to come by. When it was in sight, that's when it would crouch toward it. Since running, it wasn't able to reach the speed of other dinosaurs. That's why its tactic was to come out unexpectedly. We'll leave it here. And we only have very few animals left. Here we have the great Triceratops. Earlier we talked about the Styracosaurus, but here we have the Triceratops, from the family of those with the big skull. With a crown-shaped frill, the Triceratops was one of the last to inhabit the Earth. It was also one of the largest, as it could reach about 9 meters in length. Its body was very similar to that of rhinoceroses, but much larger in size. It also had a strong beak at the tip of its mouth. As I mentioned earlier, herbivores typically liked to dig in the ground in search of food, such as tough roots. And now we've finished today's video. We've created a real dinosaur world, although actually they're all dinosaurs except for 2. Here we have the flying reptile and also this prehistoric animal, the great Smilodon. If you like this video, you can help me by giving me a super like, a thumbs up, and I invite you to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. And now I'll say goodbye to you all. See you in the next video with more amazing animals. Goodbye!